The following video contains strong spoilers for all of A Storm of Swords. In A Storm of Swords, a dying Hoster Tully spends what little speech he can still manage on an obsessive apology regarding the word Tansy. Catelyn immediately assumes that Tansy is the name of a woman that her father is attempting to speak to. But before we explain why she is incorrect on that front, let's have a quick look into this idea anyway, as some interesting little details have been put into the story for us. Catelyn asks Maester Vyman if there has ever been a woman named Tansy that worked or stayed at Riverrun, and as far as he is aware there hasn't been. But we readers do know of a woman named Tansy. Later on in A Storm of Swords, Arya and the Brotherhood Without Banners visit the Peach, an inn and brothel in Stony Sept. The innkeeps there is a buxom red-haired woman named Tansy. So could this woman be the old lover of Hoster Tully that Catelyn believes exists, and even theorises to be a serving wench? Well, Hoster Tully was at Stony Sept during the Battle of the Bells, and another of the girls in the Peach, Bella, claims that Robert Baratheon fucked her mother at that time. So if King Robert went whoring and wenching in or around the Peach before the Battle of the Bells, why not Hoster Tully too? It's a possibility, but we're told that Tansy has red hair 5 times in the space of a few pages, almost as many times as Tansy is mentioned at all. Oh, and even the appendix bothers to mention the hair colour of this incredibly minor character. So this level of attention to detail regarding Tansy's hair colour could suggest that Tansy has some Tully blood in her, as the Tullys are known for having auburn red hair. And hair colour as an identifier of family lineage is a recurring theme in A Song of Ice and Fire. The Baratheon coal-black hair is even mentioned a couple of times in that same Arya chapter at the Peach, as Gendry nearly ends up fucking his half-sister Bella. So maybe we're supposed to think that Tansy is a bastard daughter of Hoster Tully. Still, that poses more questions than it answers, as we've no idea when, how or why Hoster would have fathered a bastard. So it's time to draw a close on Catelyn's incorrect first assumption, but don't think that the presence of this red-haired woman named Tansy is meaningless. Her purpose in this story is probably that of a red herring. The sigil of House Tully is a trout, and the symbolism relating to the house is always fish, as Lannisters are symbolised by lions, Baratheons by stags, Starks by wolves, etc. So Tansy being a Tully bastard would sort of make her an auburn trout, which is sort of like a red herring. A red herring is a literary device used to distract the reader from an important plot point. Hoster Tully presents us with this mystery early in A Storm of Swords, and we are given lots of clues about its meaning throughout the book, until it is solved right at the end. Catelyn's assumption of Tansy being a woman's name is presented to us immediately, and Tansy the innkeep continues to lead us astray down that path later on in the book. But the true solution is laid out before us all the while, and is confirmed at the conclusion of the book. Going back to the very first time we hear this word Tansy from Hoster Tully, take note of what Catelyn says immediately beforehand.
"It is a monstrous, cruel thing to lose a child," she whispered softly, more to herself than to her father. Lord Hoster's eyes opened. "Tansy," he husked, in a voice thick with pain.
Then when Catelyn asks her father who Tansy was, she says,
"Where would I find the woman? Does she still live?" Lord Hoster groaned. "Dead." His hand groped for hers. "You will have others, sweet babes, and true-born."
So whatever it is about Tansy that is bugging Hoster so much, it seems to be linked to the death of a child. That last bit especially, about having other true-born children, seems telling, and it is those words that trouble Catelyn as she tries to sleep that night.
Could Tansy be some pet name he called Lysa, the way he called me Cat? Lord Hoster had mistaken her for her sister before. "You'll have others," he said, "sweet babes and true-born." Lysa had miscarried 5 times, twice in the Eyrie, thrice at King's Landing, but never at Riverrun, where Lord Hoster would have been at hand to comfort her. Never unless she was with child that first time.
Here Catelyn comes pretty close to working out what her father is really going on about. Hoster is talking to Lysa, and Lysa was indeed pregnant that first time, which is prior to her marriage with Jon Arryn, as Catelyn works out a couple of paragraphs later.
If she had lost a child before, that might explain father's words, and much else besides. Lysa's match with Lord Arryn had been hastily arranged, and Jon was an old man even then, older than their father. An old man without an heir. His first two wives had left him childless. His brother's son had been murdered with Brandon Stark in King's Landing. His gallant cousin had died in the Battle of the Bells. He needed a young wife, if House Arryn was to continue. A young wife, known to be fertile.
So Catelyn has worked out that her father is trying to speak to Lysa here, and that he thinks he is talking to her at the time her first pregnancy ended, the one that came about as a result of her coupling with Littlefinger, before her marriage to Jon Arryn. Credit where it's due, this is some super sleuth shit from Catelyn, but she does make a couple of pretty big mistakes as well when she is attempting to unravel this mystery. The extremely apologetic nature of her father's murmurings she attributes to him being remorseful for forcing Lysa into an unwanted marriage with Jon Arryn. And as for the one key word in his apologies, well, she just guesses that maybe Tansy was a pet name he had for Lysa. Whoa there, Catelyn. Way to sweep the big clue under the rug. Catelyn's detective work falls to pieces here, as she plays down to the point of insignificance the key clue. Tansy. The word Tansy is the focal point of this message that Hoster Tully is trying to get across here, and it is not just simply a pet name that he had for his daughter Lysa. Catelyn only guesses that after she has already worked out that her father is talking to Lysa, at which point her assumption that Tansy is a woman's name in this context is so deeply rooted that she doesn't think to reconsider it. Going back to when Catelyn first tries to work out this mystery, remember that she asked Maester Vyman if he knew of a woman named Tansy who may have been at Riverrun. Let's take a closer look at his response.
Tansy, did you say? The small folk often name their daughters after flowers and herbs.
So if Tansy being a woman's name is a red herring, then what we really need to be looking at is Tansy the plant. But what could this plant possibly have to do with Hoster Tully's remorse regarding Lysa's first pregnancy? Well, let's have a look at where else in A Song of Ice and Fire we hear about Tansy. In an Arya chapter, also in A Storm of Swords, the Brotherhood Without Banners are in Acorn Hall, where Lady Smallwood chides Tom of Seven Streams for his womanizing.
The riverlands are full of maids, you pleased, all drinking tansy tea. You'd think a man as old as you would know to spill his seed on their bellies. Men will be calling you Tom Seven Sons before much longer.
So the tansy plant is an abortive fashion. I'd guess that tansy is likely a key ingredient in moon tea, which we hear mentioned several times throughout the series as a way to prevent pregnancy. The pieces should be starting to come together now, so let's cut straight to the big reveal at the end of A Storm of Swords and wrap up this mystery once and for all. Just to set the scene and give a little bit of context before we go into the audiobook clip, this is the last chapter of A Storm of Swords. Lysa has gone batshit. She's threatening to throw Sansa out of the moon door, and she's speaking to Littlefinger.
I've always loved you. I proved it, haven't I? Tears ran down her aunt's puffy red face. I gave you my maiden's gift. I would have given you a son too, but they murdered him with moon tea, with tansy and mint and wormwood. A spoon of honey and a drop of pennyroyal. It wasn't me. I never knew. I only drank what father gave me.
So there you have it. The Tansy that Hoster Tully speaks of is the plant that he put in an abortifacient brew to terminate Lysa's first pregnancy. He did that so that she would not be soiled by bearing the bastard of a low-born man, and so that she could be wed to a powerful high-born lord such as Jon Arryn, to secure his swords and spears in allegiance to House Tully. And the reason that Hoster was so remorseful for this on his deathbed is the long-term effects it had. He says that Lysa will have others, but Lysa went on to have 5 further miscarriages, and her only living child is sickly and frail. This is likely the result of the permanent damage done to Lysa's fertility by the harmful concoction he forced upon her to abort Peter Baelish's bastard in her belly. This is one of a couple of pretty huge reveals that come in thick and fast during the spectacularly climactic last few pages of A Storm of Swords. To preserve the effects of these reveals is probably the reason that George R. R. Martin tried to draw us away from the true solution to the mystery, while still leaving us all the clues we needed to decipher it. Catelyn's incorrect assumption and the red-haired Tansy and Stony Sept were red herrings. The real deal was Hoster Tully's dirty secret, the one that had a damning effect on the rest of his daughter's life and haunted him to the grave. As far as little mysteries and little hints go, this is a pretty fucking epic play by Martin. And the great news is that A Song of Ice and Fire is full of stuff like this. Keep reading and rereading these books. There are always more gems to be found. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to see my future videos as they are made, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, questions or suggestions, please do leave a comment or get in touch to let me know. As always, I will leave links in the description for further content online on this topic, as well as some generally great YouTube channels that do A Song of Ice and Fire content. I'd also like to give a massive thank you to the Art of Ice and Fire Facebook page for helping me collate some of the art for this video. If you're on Facebook, please give them a like and check out some of the artwork on their page. There will be a list of all the art used in the description, with credit for all of the artists. So thanks again for watching, and see you next time. Cheers.